friends and neighbors. Welcome in the light, where laughter's the answer and hearts are shining bright. With calloused hands and wits, so razor sharp. Let's praise a place where love ignites the spark.
Hello, friends and neighbors, and welcome back to the Sunny Side of Life. Troy Thompson here. Once again, it's been a couple of weeks. Man, I waited last week. I was going to do the show a day or two later. I waited for the results of the primary election in Kentucky with Thomas Massey, because as you recall, I like Thomas Massey, and I was super hopeful that he would win. So I was really looking forward to celebrating that win come last Wednesday. And that's not what happened, is it? No, actually, it is not what happened at all. Massey lost by 8 points to Ed Gallerine. And so he's no longer going to be the representative from Kentucky that apparently is just a real fly in the ointment to the Trump administration. So they succeeded, and man, I was PO'd. I was mad about that. So it took me a couple of days to kind of put things together, what my thoughts were. At first, I was upset. Obviously, I think his supporters in Kentucky were upset as well. But boy, there was a lot of stuff on social media claiming that he got what he deserved, and there was quite a turnout in that particular district. He had been very successful in winning his stuff for everything except this last one, and he lost by 8 points. I've heard different numbers. Something, I don't even know. Is it $32 million now that they say? I think $32 million total that was spent on the campaign, and most of that being spent, at least 2/3 of it being spent to oust him, and that was something that we talked about on the last episode. I was pretty sure that he was going to win, and man, was I was wrong, and I am still disappointed. But it took me a little bit to, as the week got going, and I thought I was going to, like I said, I thought I was going to do the show on Wednesday because I was going to really be celebrating this this victory of Thomas Massey, and I just didn't. I didn't do it. It didn't happen, and it took me a while to get my thoughts together, and I'm glad it did. I'm sorry that we didn't have a show last week. But there was just so much that I had to, consider what it actually means for folks that care, I guess, about the future of America and maybe the Republican Party to some degree. I've lost a lot of this has come and gone in several in the last several years. I was Republican my whole life, and then after the 2020 election, my view was that there was so much angst and really, I thought, disgusting actions in the Republican Party against Donald Trump that I was like, well, this party doesn't even support the change that Trump had brought, and so they kind of that disgusted me, and so I became a libertarian. I said I'm registering as a libertarian, as you well know. And I did that and discovered that the libertarians, there's so much that I like about the libertarian philosophy, particularly about economics and administration, and how just a worldview of what our role as a nation is in the world, and what it is to our individuals in our own country. And I liked all that, but man, there's a lot of weirdos in the Libertarian Party. And I don't concur with a lot of their philosophies on certain things. And those things, if you're uber libertarian, you probably are not Christian. And so that became a problem for me as well, because you do have to, your faith is what guides you, and your faith is the most important thing in your life. It's more important than party. No party has got the corner on the market for faith. And I'm actually quite disturbed by the Democrats who claim to have faith, but they seem to use their faith as a springboard for absurd political policies. And the Republicans do the exact same thing. Republicans claim that they're the most Christian of all, and in many cases, and that's a big part of who runs for office and what they say when they're running and all of that. And it's not that I doubt that people's faith is real. I certainly hope that it is, whatever party that they're running on. But I've come to the conclusion that your faith is there is not a I don't think that there's an American apparently there is an American version of faith, but it's not it's not Christianity. It's there it may have the same wording and some of the same scripts and some of the references from the Bible, but it is not Christianity. I'm always been very positive on kind of the rugged individualist, the individual who is capable of thinking critically and being able to make decisions and observe life and be able to employ your values in a positive way in the decisions that one makes, and then can go out and do things as an individual, and that you should be able to do things as an individual. That's why I spend a lot of time doing things with my hands, building stuff and making stuff and taking care of livestock, which since I've retired from the military, I find great peace and a closer proximity to God by taking care of other living things. Of course, my family, my children, my grandson, but also animals that inevitably we're probably going to eat, but to get them to that point and making sure that they are cared for helps me just as a man. And so there is a sense of individualism in that mentality. And it's something that, it's been a big part of this show, actually, life, liberty, and the pursuits which make us happy. And we talk about those things here on the sunny side of life. And our guests over the years have employed some sort of version of that and just appreciate that individuality. But the true aspect of faith in God, as a Christian, is that the triune God, right? So the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, and the Trinity is not an individual, and it is also it's also not a democracy or a republic, and there is no voting for what you're going to expect God to do for you or me. And so some of those things do conflict with the nature of our government, or really any government, but certainly our government. So I don't buy that we are a faithful republic, or that any particular party has, like I said, the corner on the market on Christian faith, because it gets skewed so drastically by our concepts that are very American and very nationalist. And I don't think that those are bad things. I think you can be proud of your country. I think that's why it was so effective for Donald Trump to say, let's make America great again. That's a very appealing marketing slogan. And his 2016 concept was, in my opinion, successful. And it looked like in 2020 that he was making headway into that agenda. He lost that election, Some people dispute that, but he lost that election. And in the 4 years that then, transpired, lots of things, lawfare, et cetera, all of these things occurred, and it was gross. It was just disgusting. And so that was very off-putting for most people, I think. And it's probably why he was able to, having survived the lawfare, having survived the assassination attempt, and where is that, by the way? Where are we at with that? And since then, 3 more assassination attempts. It just seemed like, that he was able to build this coalition of people because of all races and backgrounds and economic backgrounds and all of these things very successfully, and something that the Republican Party had not done well, probably since Reagan. And even this was different. The numbers were different for Trump. And because we thought that he was going to be not getting us into any stupid wars, he has. And and we thought that he was going to, do some things, regarding taxes, which we did. We were able to, get a reduction in our income taxes, which was nice. He has not made the economic situation of the United States government better at all. I think we're approaching $40 trillion now of debt, which is insane. And so Republicans are a part of that huge problem, as much as Democrats are. They've been in power for a long time, both parties, and they, in my opinion, like a lot of people say, they are kind of a uniparty. And so what's just very disappointing is in this last year, a lot of the things that I thought, with the exception of immigration, a lot of the things that I thought that Trump was going to do, and it looked like he was going to do successfully, and it looked like he really had his team put together, and he had learned from the mistakes of trusting the wrong people in the Republican Party, and that things were going to go a lot better. And I don't think that they've gone a lot better at all. In fact, I think they've gone a lot worse. He has not drained the swamp whatsoever, and the Republican Party, the same people who were very much against him in 2016 and in 2020 are now whispering in his ear, and he seems to be doing their bidding. We've gotten into this illegal war with Iran for no reason. They keep changing the reasons and what they say that our goal was. We don't know how to get out of it, and things are not going well. Our gas prices are higher than they've been in a long time, and they weren't that way before. And it's not just about gas prices. It's about the petrodollar, our status in the world, how we are really weakening ourselves between the money that we've spent and the weapons that we've deployed to Ukraine in support of their effort, and the things that we've done with Iran, and the things that we continue to do around the world has not made us stronger. In fact, it's made us weaker. And they don't seem to care, they being whoever is actually running the party. And that's why I was so disappointed when on Wednesday morning, after, actually it was Tuesday night when we, when Tom Massey gave his concession speech. He lost, and he's got 7 months left in the Congress. We'll see what that brings for him. And that's why I was so disappointed, because I would like it if there was just somebody that was still adhering to the perceived values of the Republican Party, people that would lead on principle, that would, say yes or no to good, bad, and indifferent policies, to try to reduce the overreach of our federal government all the way down to the local level. Republicans, I was hopeful that they always say that, but they don't actually do it. And so it's very disappointing. And of course, at this point, Trump has got the lowest ratings anywhere except in Israel. I guess Trump is very proud of his 99% rating, approval rating in Israel. Who cares? if your approval rating in Israel, because you're doing the heavy lifting, we're paying for their wars, and he's got a 99% approval rating. So now he's going to leave office, and then he said, he was joking, I hope, but then maybe he could go run and be the president over in Israel. But that would never happen, for a variety of reasons, even though anybody that's not Palestinian can become an Israeli, apparently. So he would probably be able to be a citizen of Israel and all of that, but they would have no use for him. If he's not in office, they would have no use for him. And being the president of Israel he would have no influence whatsoever. So you would think that he would, because it seems like we have a lot of Israeli influence, but the reality is that obviously that will never happen. I mean, he's not going to leave the United States. It doesn't matter what his approval rating is in a tiny country like Israel. So that was just a joke, but on his part. And it sort of landed, but it's kind of falling on deaf ears. The rest of America, in many cases, at least 70% of America, is like, who cares? What are you talking about? The 30% who would, die by the whatever Trump says is right. They're all in favor of it. So who knows what'll happen? So I had to put all of this together over the course of a very busy week. It was exciting for a lot of reasons. Our son Colin qualified for state track in 4 events. He was a high jumper. He came in 6th at state track, which was very exciting. And so he's the 6th best jumper in the state of Iowa in Class 2A. That's great for him. He's a junior in high school and still got another year left. And very, very, very fun to watch that. And he was also in sprint medley. They have a 1600 sprint medley and the 800 sprint medley. He was in those, and also the 4x4. And we went down to Des Moines to watch the state track, which I have to say we're very blessed, because all 4 sons have qualified in their high school careers to attend state track in some events. And so it's kind of been, I don't say a tradition, but it's sort of been a tradition. As long as we have kids in high school, we've always gone to state track, because we've got a kid that's in state track. And I think Iowa does a great job with state track. And so the announcer, I've said this before on previous episodes, just does a fantastic job. He's so well researched and just is so positive on the great state of Iowa. It's such a great place to hear the names of towns that you may not hear in normal conversation in that one place. And of course, it's just jam-packed with athletes who are doing their absolute level best to go out and win in the field of competition, whatever it happens to be, whatever their race or medley or event or field event it happens to be. And so it's a really great time. If you've never been to the state track in the state of Iowa, it's worth going. This is also the same place. It's held at Drake University, where the Drake Relays are held, world famous Drake Relays. And so it's just a wonderful environment. And I will say that it's been, they didn't, by the way, the results in the other 3 events were not medaled. So Colin medaled in the high jump, and the other ones did not. We stayed at a hotel, which is Element by Marriott, and we love a lot of the Marriott hotels. I've been doing some research on the Marriott family. I don't know if we should be doing so much business with Marriott, but anyway, we do like their Marriott hotels, and we do like to stay in Marriott. I'm a Gold Elite member, not bragging, just got a lot of points by staying in all these Marriott places. But the Element is it's a newer hotel, but it's just not it's not our vibe. And it's a little preachy. They've got lots of signs in your rooms and around telling you that they're conserving water. And basically, the whole environmental, how to live your life situation is just a little too much for me. The rooms are nice. It's great, good appointments and all of that. However, it's just, it's not it's got a different vibe. And it's not our thing, so could have done without that. Probably won't be staying at the Element. The Element. It's like you're visiting like your adult niece her home after graduating from college, and she's got great design and great decor. And to visit, you have to listen to her talk about all of the leftist politics that she learned in college, and that's kind of what I felt like staying at the Element. I don't get that from the other places when we stay at other Marriott hotels. So that was a little bit of a thing, but I will say this year felt a little bit different at State Track, and it has caused me to think that this Iowa nice thing that we've kind of prided ourselves on for forever. Being an Iowan, you feel like you're hardworking, rational, friendly, polite, kind. The joke was always in Hollywood movies when I was growing up that the nice guy tourist was probably from Iowa, or the innocent one was probably, where did you grow up? I'm from Iowa, and so we kind of had that. We're always, apologizing. Typically, even if it's not your fault, say, oh, sorry, go ahead, whatever it happens to be, and you go out of your way to cross a street quickly because traffic wants to get moving, and you wave to people on the highway, whether you know them or not, and you're just doing things, going out of your way to be kind and polite, and not to obstruct somebody else's whatever they're up to. However, this time at State Track, it just kind of had a vibe. I think that there is a shift in our Iowa nice, and it's not so nice. And this is based totally on just a couple of things, but primarily based on, we sit where you sit in Drake Stadium, so you can watch the high jump, which is of course at the end of the football field, be on the south end, and of course you want to see the jumps and all of that stuff, and we were kind of in the middle of this row, and so to get out of that, when you're done watching and you're going to go to the concession stand or the bathroom or whatever, you just you need to get to the end of the row and go up the steps. So normally in Iowa, what would happen is that you would get up and say, pardon me, excuse me, I just need to get, and people would get out of their way, go out of their way to make sure that you could get by, and they would be affable as well because it's State Track and everybody's happy. And that is not my experience this time. Like they were like put out by the fact that they had to get up and it's like, why are you walking? Like, how else do you get out of this row? If you're sitting on the end of the row, just expect that you're going to get up a lot because people are going to need to get out. And that was my experience every single time, wherever we sat. And it wasn't like we were, constantly moving up and down and getting in and out of the rows. It's just like we went, we watched, we were there for quite a while, and then it was time to move. And man, people just did not want to get up, and they kind of seemed like they were put out that they had. And one guy didn't even get up. He didn't even want to get up. And our oldest son, Tate, who comes up, he's been at all of these State Track and field events. He's 31, and he just loves coming up to State Track. He came up from Kansas City and watched Colin, and that was great to have him there. And both of us, Tate's a big guy, and I'm kind of crusty, and both of us wanted to just pick this guy up and throw him. Which is not Iowa nice either. And so that has changed. I don't know what it is. I don't know if people are living too close together in the metro area, or I don't know what's happening, but there is definitely a shift in the attitude of what used to be Iowa nice. So we need to get back to that, I think, that because State Track is such a great representative of a representation of who we are as a state, and you're really watching these kids do their thing. And obviously, there's only one first place in each event, but everybody else earned their spot to get there in one way or the other. And so State Track was great. So we left for that and spent a couple of days in Des Moines. We did some shopping. We got some plants. We planted our garden this weekend. We planted about 21 trees as we develop our property, but also the property that for the Sunnyside Hollow. So we got lots of fruit trees now that we've lined and keep the road down to the pond as we develop that into pasture and a very unique place. So we've been busy, and then the thing about so I didn't do a show on Monday, as you know, and like I said, I was waiting to see what the results would be for the election in Kentucky. And but Monday I wouldn't have been doing a show anyway, because Sunday night we had a week ago Sunday we had a tornado area. We didn't have a tornado, but there were tornadoes all over, and really, really high winds, like maybe 80-mile-an-hour winds that kind of just whipped through the area. And so we went down to the basement. We don't often do that. A lot of times what you do in Iowa is when you get a tornado warning and it buzzes on your phone or whatever, you just go outside and see what's going on. And of course, we've done that many times, but this time we thought, this is different. Let's go down to the basement. So we did. We were down there for, about an hour, and then nothing really happened. They did lose power. We don't lose power, but we have a generator, so we lost, for a minute, and then it came on. So our lights were ablazing, and the neighbors were all dark. It looked like we were having a party over here in a tornado. And we just we went to bed. Things had settled down. It was still windy and raining, but there was no longer a threat of tornado. So off you go to bed. We woke up and I'm getting ready for the day to do my chores. And Heidi had left and was going to work, and she called me and said, the chicken tractor is on its roof. And so that is crazy. So as I've discussed before, the chicken tractor that I built for the hens, I built out of 2x6s in metal, steel siding that I had on hand, and just built that in a day. And it's quite heavy. In fact, it's too heavy to move by hand. So there's a lot of people that have chicken tractors, and they just pick them up. They roll them along, and how light they are, and then they can keep their chickens on fresh grass, which I believe in, and that's why I move them every day for the same reason. However, this thing is too heavy to do that, so I have to use a tractor to move the chicken tractor, and probably get made fun of for having such a heavy chicken tractor. So I don't know how strong that particular wind had to be, but it caught that particular shed, which was probably facing the wrong direction, to be honest with you. I had gone along the hayfield all the way to the east, and then I turned them around and started bringing them back to the west. And so the way that particular route was pretty much wide open to the southwest. And so that's probably why, that's where all the storms come in Iowa. All the tornadoes, they all come from the southwest. And so that wind must have just caught it perfectly and flipped it right up in the air, and it landed on its roof. And so I drove out there with the tractor, like you do, because that's what it takes to move my chicken tractor. And I was just expecting pure, utter devastation. I bet all of the hens were mutilated and crushed and probably under the roof. And I was just not looking forward to my Monday morning as I drove out to the hayfield. And I got out, and sure enough, that chicken tractor was on its roof, upside down, like it had flipped completely over and kind of landed just exactly behind where it had been, which is, they must have just picked it up, and I don't even know how it would have been cool to see. But anyway, I went up to it. I'm driving up, and I'm expecting utter devastation. I can't see any dead chickens around. I don't see any chickens running around, so I'm assuming this is a bad situation. I get out of the tractor, kind of glum. I look inside the upside down chicken tractor, which is now open to the sky, because it's the floor is now open to the, on the top, and the roof is on the bottom, and they're all in there, just pooping on the ceiling. They're just walking around, little peeved, little upset. They're still contained in the chicken tractor, and they're all okay. It's I don't want to say it's a miracle, but it's like, what was that situation? How did that happen? That the wind just picked it up and then flopped it on its roof, and pointed the opposite direction, and all the chickens are in it, and nobody's got a broken wing or hurt feet or anything. They're just walking around on the metal, and they're kind of wet because it had been raining. They don't like that, and they were upset. Of course, the water had all spilled out, and their feeder was literally in the same spot. That sits in the middle on the ground, and it's they have 8 little holes that they can put their heads in and eat their little grains or whatever. And that's still in its same spot outside of where the chicken tractor. And so I couldn't believe it. So I went and got the forks on the tractor, and I got my chicken moving kennel, which is an old dog kennel. Put all the chickens in there. They did not like that, but I got them moved, and they sat and watched me as I just picked up this chicken tractor and flipped it over with the forks, and so it got it standing on its end, and then pushed it over, and I'm like, this is no way that this is going to, the door probably won't open. Things are going to get out of whack. And it's fine. So you might say that Joel Salatin would definitely say that I overbuilt my chicken tractor. That you should be able to move it with your hand. If I could move this thing with my hand, it would be in the neighbor's yard. And our neighbors are a quarter mile away or further. And so this thing is fine. I overbuilt it, or did I? I don't think I did. I couldn't believe it. They were and I moved them back in, and they got on fresh grass, and they're loving life. They were a little peeved, but things are back to normal. I could not believe that they all survived. No problem. Unbelievable. So that happened on Monday, and a variety of other things. So that was why I didn't do a show last week between State Track and this chicken situation on Monday, and waiting for the results on Tuesday, and on and on and on. And now it's baseball season, isn't it? So we're into high school baseball, and we've got a game or two this week, and it's maybe more than that. It's just on like Donkey Kong. And of course, I look forward to announcing the high school baseball games at home, like I've been doing for several years. And so looking forward to that. But on to the next thing. And so here we are. It's Memorial Day week. It's Memorial Day, and we've got a couple of things for you. But I did want to put together something. Look, the future, I don't know to get back to the Thomas Massey thing. I'm glad that I took a week to just kind of get my thoughts together, to calm down a little bit, and to look forward to an optimistic future. I'm hopeful that that Thomas Massey does continue to involve himself in politics. He will be out of Congress in December, January is when the new Congress comes in. The Trump administration got what they wanted by targeting and spending $32 million or whatever it was on this particular one race to get who they wanted in there, and they succeeded in that. And some people are really cheering on the president for look how powerful he is. He still can pick the winners and stuff like that. But I don't see it that way. I feel that all that has really happened, I hope what has happened is that we have, as a nation, we are starting to open our eyes just a little bit and realize that the current administration is not working for us. They don't care if the prices are high. They're doing whatever they're doing for whatever reason. They're doing the things that they're doing, and it's not making any sense to me. They're not making things more affordable. They're not getting less intrusive. They're not reducing regulations. They're not doing the things. They're not spending less. They are getting more and more involved in war. It's not going well. And I think people are kind of waking. I hope people are waking up to that. Maybe they're not. Maybe, I don't know. But I think that I don't think that there'll be a split in the Republican Party, but I do hope that there is a new wave of folks that are kind of put out by what has happened this past year. It's only been a year, year and a half maybe, since in the Trump administration. So very soon will be a lame duck president. I mean, this is his second term. He can't run again. And this midterm election in the fall, my guess is that the Republicans, regardless of what they're doing, and some good things for the gerrymandering around the states, and then maybe they're picking up a few seats here and there. I just don't think that they're going to hold on to Congress. And that's too bad, but they brought it upon themselves by the actions that they've taken. And I don't know what that will bring. My guess is that it will bring a lot of pointless investigations. I'm sure that they'll be bringing up impeachment all the time and everything. So not much is going to get done after January if the Republicans don't hold on to Congress. And I'm not particularly sure that they should. But I'm not interested in what the Democrats have to offer either. We're going to hold Trump accountable. All you're going to do is waste, time with going after Trump and all of that other stuff. But he might deserve some of that. But I'm just saying that's probably what we have to look forward to in the next couple of years: more spending, dumb regulations. We'll see where this war stuff goes. That doesn't sound very optimistic, but there is an optimistic outline to it, and that is that maybe that will make people actually who are conservative, who don't want bigger government, who want people to actually live by their values, that maybe somebody like Thomas Massey could run for president. Would he win the primary for a Republican? I don't know, but I guess it'll just depend on who I guess he's going to run against. And I don't even know if he's going to run for president, but I sure would like to see that. And I would be in big support of that, because I'd like to see a little bit more activity from my generation, to be honest with you. Massey had incredible support from basically everybody that was younger than the boomers. But the problem is that the boomers, they vote. But just like their parents voted, and you get to a certain age, you're looking forward to that Tuesday, whatever Tuesday it happens to be, whenever it is. And so they're also just like, my parents' generation, the greatest generation. I don't know if that's true, but they voted, and my parents' generation, they got irritated by that. But we've had boomer presidents. We had Bill Clinton; he was the first one. We've had Obama. We had George W. We got Donald Trump. Who's and I think he's 80, so he's like a boomer, first year maybe, or first class of the boomers, and on and on and on. So we've had boomers. We have enough boomers. We have enough boomer presidents. So who do we have from the next generation, which is my generation? And that would be Thomas Massey. I think that I don't know. I don't know if J.D. Vance is actually a Gen X or if he might be a millennial, to be honest with you. So we don't need a millennial yet. Sorry. The Gen X, our generation, right? We need to step up and we need to get a Gen X president in. What would a Gen X president actually look like? Because we're a different generation. And I don't want to make this generational political warfare by any means, but every generation kind of starts to feel it. I'm sure that my parents' generation they were a little tired of listening to the heroes from World War II always running things. They need to get out of the way, and so they gave us, we got Clinton and Bush. And Trump and Obama. That's what we got out of that. And then, so we'll see. I don't know. We'll get a Gen X president in there. Maybe we'll get something. Maybe we'll get something different. I don't know. Actually, I don't know how old Obama actually is. So I don't know. He might have been Gen X. Might have been one of the early ones. But I don't think so. I think he's a boomer. But it's crazy to me. You think about it. The Gen X and younger does not rely on a major news media, and the boomer generation, now they're the old ones. Sorry, Mom and Dad. They're the old ones, and they are used to having three channels. Of course, we've had more than three channels for decades now. And the Fox News folks in the Republican Party, like, they believe everything that is on Fox News. And on the other side, they believe everything that CNN and MSNBC or MS Now or whatever they're called. They believe all of that stuff. And it's like, why are you trusting these people? They kind of grew up with Walter Cronkite and David Brinkley and whoever the other guy was, telling them what to think. In Gen X, we had Peter Jennings, Dan Rather, Tom Brokaw. And Jennings, he wasn't even an American. Peter Jennings was Canadian. He died of lung cancer. I always felt like he was kind of like Roger Moore. He was charming, but not so great as the Sean Connery Bond. So Dan Rather proved to be an inventor of news. And I think Dan Rather was kind of always more impressed with himself than he should have been. And then Tom Brokaw is I think he's from South Dakota. He's a Dakotan anyway. And I think, in my opinion, he has a great voice. But he is responsible for mislabeling the generation that gave us the boomers, the greatest generation to ever collect Social Security. And then they gave us the boomers, which will be the largest generation to ever collect Social Security and probably the last generation to do so. So that's a Generation X perspective on how things are going. And, we all love our parents and our grandparents and everything like that, but things are not going that great where we can just say, yeah, you go ahead and collect your Social Security. You'll be the last ones to get it. And nobody's doing anything about it, which is maybe that's what has to happen. You have to run it out. So a Massey presidency might be a good thing. I would think it would be. It might be more like a Jeffersonian. The Democrats claim Thomas Jefferson, but Jefferson was also a scientist. He thought of himself as a farmer and a scientist, and a little bit reluctant in some of those things. So maybe Massey, who is also a scientist, inventor, and farmer, maybe that would be a good time. Maybe that's a new era. Maybe that's something that the Gen X can actually bring to the table. And maybe we can, Jefferson was wildly against having public debt. He thought that having public debt was shameful. He died in debt, of course, himself. But public debt was shameful because it was an unsolicited tax on your children and your grandchildren, the generations that come after you. We don't care about that in America. We don't give a damn about taxing our children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, $40 trillion, and it's fine as long as we keep getting our stuff. And we just keep on kicking things down the road. That would be something that Jefferson would be just rolling in his grave over, and really not interested in getting involved in foreign wars. He did have to put the hammer down, of course, on those pirates, the Barbary pirates, That's how we get that line in the Marine hymn, The Shores of Tripoli. But other than that, really just was kind of innovating and wanted America to be more like more of an agrarian kind of place. But of course, it was, other folks like the Hamilton guy. He wanted to make, what we are. We are a big business country. And so to me, a Thomas Massey is more of a Jeffersonian character. And that would be a pretty good start to a Gen X presidency, which also, my guess is, if it was a Gen X presidency, we probably wouldn't have a cabinet and an entire White House staff comprised of former B-list Fox News contributors. Which is like, is this what Donald Trump, all he watches is Fox News? Let's get that one. I'm going to get that. That'd be a good person for the Department of War. Should be called the Department of Illegal War. That would be more accurate. But we're just picking people out from Fox News, cherry picking. That's where you're getting them from the Fox News Corporation. That's where everybody's coming from. Kind of crazy. I don't know. But it would be different. It would a Massey presidency, a Gen X presidency would be different. Just how we grew up, kind of the last generation to grow up without instant communication in our hands or porn at the push of a button. We had to work for our entertainment, by God, and we had banana seats on our bikes. We had Big League Chew. We had candy cigarettes so we could appreciate the efforts of our tobacco industry. We thought that the war Grandpa fought was the good one and the one Dad fought was the wrong one. And that Grenada was our best war until Kuwait wasn't raped like we were told. And then we believed in, all of us when we were growing up in the 80s, we believed in the Wolverine spirit, and that for a moment that C. Thomas Howell guy was actually an action hero. We were pretty sure that we'd miss out on a big government war effort based on grift and fraud, but we were lucky and we got the biggest one to date after Pearl Harbor happened on September 11th, 2001. The 60th anniversary, by the way, of the dedication of the Pentagon. Isn't that weird? The 60th anniversary, September 11th. Interesting. Anyway, it would be a different type of presidency. It would be a presidency where, with the Gen Xers in charge, these are people like myself who were not so worried about who shot JR, but more concerned about why Bobby Ewing was married to Chrissy Snow. And these are the types of things that, Gen X is a little bit apathetic about world politics. We don't really trust any government agency. We're not particularly keen on any of our allies. Doesn't mean that we can't have allies, but that doesn't mean that we're particularly, fond of them either. We have good memories of growing up in a great America. That's why Make America Great Again reminded me in 2016 of what I thought it was like growing up in the 80s under Reagan. And then I thought that that's what that meant. And I thought that my kids would then grow up with that as well. They haven't. This hasn't been the experience whatsoever. It's just, it's not the same thing. I talk about Iowa Nice disappearing from the state track meet. It has also disappeared from politics, unfortunately. Long gone are the days when Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan have conversations and call each other Dutch and, whatever. Those days, sadly, might be gone. And I was kind of hoping that they would come back. And maybe, I don't know how effective a Gen X president would be. To be honest with you, I don't really even know. But it would be cool if it was like Massey Gabbard, Tulsi. She's gone now. Who is to take care of her husband who's got a rare form of cancer, and that's probably true. But there's probably certainly more to it. They've been ignoring her and pushing her away for quite some time. So I just like these people that stand up on values and principles and don't seem to be able to be bought, and that really offends some Republicans, which I don't care. I mean, I think that's the problem. So we'll see what happens. That's the silver lining to me. I'm hopeful that he doesn't go away entirely, and I'm hopeful that there's just enough that could happen. He even said it in his concession speech that what happened, this is God's plan. We don't know what God has in mind, but Massey's conceding, and he's like, well, this is God's plan, and we're just going to go with that and see what comes next. And of course, he did remind everybody that he still has 7 months to go, and all of that. So we'll see what happens. It gave me a little bit of time to tone down my rhetoric and get and take a more positive view. My hope is that the change, not hope and change, but my hope is that there will be change that will come, and it will be based on principles, good principles, not bought and paid for ones, and certainly not foreign interest ones. So that's my take on what happened last Tuesday, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in the next 7 months, and then after that, we'll certainly be tracking all of those things as well. But I did want to put together a little thing for you, a little Massey-cree of my own. So if you're aware of a guy named Arlo Guthrie, he really only had one hit song, and it was called Alice's Restaurant. It's based on a true story. It actually happened to him. Arlo Guthrie is the son of Woody Guthrie. This land is your land. This land is my land. So folk singers, American folk singers. Arlo came along. He's a baby boomer. Came along in the 60s, in mid 60s. He actually got arrested for littering with his buddy, and then he made a song out of it that was kind of a talking jazz type song called Alice's Restaurant, and it went on forever. It went on for 18 minutes. So it didn't get a lot of radio play, but it was very popular because it kind of went through his experience experiences of being rejected from the draft because he had been convicted of littering. And I just found that song very humorous. It is an incredibly funny song. It's got a good little rhythm to it, and and I had heard that song for the first time when I was a teenager. I had discovered that my dad had these before there were cassette tapes, before there were 8-track tapes, between 8 tracks and records, they had these things called reel-to-reel machines. And it was basically the same type of tape that you'd have in the old cassettes or even the 8 tracks, but it was on a big wheel. And then so you could record your own music on these big wheels of tape. And that's what apparently they did. I don't know if he did it when he was in Germany or when he was in Vietnam, but he had a reel-to-reel machine, and he had all of these reels that had these tapes on it, and it was just loaded with songs that I had never heard before. Some of them I had, it was like the music that they would listen to when they were soldiers or whenever he had them. I don't really know. I assumed that they were from that time. Could be. I don't know. But I just set that thing up in my room as a teenager and would just play that reel to reel. I was working at the radio station. I started when I was 16, so I knew how. We still used reel to reel for editing, and so I knew how to make it work and everything like that. I was surprised to find that my dad had one, and so I found these these narrow thin boxes that had these reels in them, and set up his old reel to reel machine and plugged them into some old speakers and listened to what my dad listened to when he was much younger. And I came across many, many different songs that I'd never heard of. Some of them I'd never heard since. And then, of course, lots of great songs, rock and roll from the 60s. And then there was, of course, some country on there, a lot of Johnny Cash. And then there was, of course, the Rat Pack stuff, Frank Sinatra and so forth. So he had like all this eclectic variety of music on this number of reels that he had, and I would just listen to them. I'd do my homework, I'd clean my room, I'd be in my room just listening to what my dad listened to on this old reel to reel. And surely they just must have recorded it off of records or something like that. I don't know exactly how they did it, because these were not like purchased with all this music on. They were just clearly before you could rip music off. They were just ripping music off and recorded on these reel to reels, and that's how you could have like an hour or 2 hours of play, and you could record on both sides. So you just flip the reel over once it got on the other side and put it on and flip it around, and you have all this music on there. And Alice's Restaurant was on it, and I'd never heard of this guy named Arlo Guthrie. Of course, I'd heard of Woody Guthrie and This Land Is Your Land, This Land Is My Land. But I had never heard of Arlo. And so he had this funny song called Alice's Restaurant. And the song was actually called Alice's Restaurant Massey-cree. It goes on for about 18 minutes. And it tells this whole story of how over Thanksgiving he and his buddy had gone to Alice's house, which was an old church, and they'd taken the garbage out for her because they had a lot of garbage. And but the dump was closed, so they just threw it in over a cliff. And then there was a whole investigation, and there's a funny description as they have to go to court and get arrested. And Alice bails him out, and then he goes down to get that later he ends up getting off. He gets off of that because. I don't know, but it's just a very funny. You have to listen to it. You can find it if you've got 18 minutes of your life. You should listen to it. But I'm going to bring some of it around because it is a bit of a protest song about a war that a lot of people did not like, but it really ended up. If you ask Arlo Guthrie, who registered as a Republican in 2008, by the way, which is kind of funny, then he became an independent in 2016, and now he's like, I don't even know what I'm going to do. Because just like a lot of people, he's like, oh my God, it's where are we at right now? But Arlo Guthrie said that it was really more of a protest of stupidity. And I would say that has been Thomas Massey's entire political career. Donald Trump says that he always votes against the Republicans, which is an absolute lie. He votes with the Republicans 93% of the time, and then there's just a few times when you hold out because you're like, "This is dumb. We're not doing. We shouldn't be. You said you were going to do," and they're like, "Don't care. You got to do exactly what we say. Get those marching boots on and do what you're told." And he didn't, and now he's not going to be a congressman because of it. So that's the price you pay, I guess, and he understands that. So I just feel like wouldn't it be cool? Trump also said that he's the worst congressman in history. Anytime Trump says anything about history, you know he doesn't actually know what he's talking about, right? Because he doesn't know anything about history or faith. Maybe really nothing except maybe real estate. Other than that, you know, he's like, this is the worst in history. It's like, I mean, clearly you don't even know history. But he has said that, and you just kind of take it with a grain of salt anymore because it's all puffery. But I thought, wouldn't it be cool if we just took some of the clips and we just put it together over Alice's restaurant and just kind of tied this whole thing up neatly with a bow for Thomas Massey and this whole arduous process that has now resulted in defeat. But looking forward to an optimistic future, whatever that happens to be. And maybe, like Massey was saying, I guess this is what reminded me of it. Maybe it'll be a movement. Maybe it'll if two or three or 50 people, if you had 12 people, like Massey said in Congress, who did this, they can't spend $32 million on 12 people to try to run them out. Maybe if people would just vote their conscience and do the right thing, and maybe it would be a movement. Maybe it would be the Alice's Restaurant Massey and not Massey-cree. And so I put this together for you. I hope you enjoy it.
What if I lose?
Being independent, having your own opinions is one thing. Voting against the party, you're eventually going to make too many enemies. I wish that weren't the case, but politics is politics. You can't expect the party to actually back you.
There are members of Congress, they tell me on some of these votes, they're like, yours is the right vote. I just can't do that today. And they're like, I just can't die on this hill. They actually might be making a logical decision.
Ed Gilrain, he's fantastic, but forget that.
You don't have to be a rubber stamp on foreign policy.
If they're bad people and they mean harm to our sheeps, we're on it.
We know we don't want a war, and we know why young people middle-aged people are against the next war. Because we'd be the ones fighting it. They're trying to bring back the draft. Screw that. We're not going to fight some other country's wars. We don't want to send our money overseas. Today is the 6-month anniversary of the Epstein Files Transparency Act.
Thomas Massey, he's from Kentucky. He is so bad. Massey's the worst congressman in the history of our country.
What happened tonight was God's will. What was God's purpose? What is he showing us tonight?
Politics is politics.
You don't like your kind.
I do believe this is an inflection point.
A lot of damn gall to ask me if I've rehabilitated myself.
What I wanted to do was give you all credit.
I'm sitting here on a bench. I'm sitting here on the Group W bench.
We're not going to fight some other country's wars.
Because you want to know if I'm moral enough to join the army, burn women, kids' houses, and villages after being a litter bug.
We don't want to send our money overseas.
And the only reason I'm singing you the song now is because you may know somebody in a similar situation.
You can survive.
Or you may be in a similar situation, and if you're in a situation like that, there's only one thing you can do.
Live to fight another day, and you can fight all the righteous fights. Let's say we get a dozen of them who vote with me on the next thing where I would have been the only no. AIPAC can't spend $30 million on a dozen people. When they saw the influencers here, they panicked. They sent the Secretary of War here, and you stopped the war for a day.
If just one person does it, they may think he's really sick and they won't take him.
We're on it.
And if two people do it.
If they're bad people.
And if 3 people do it.
Knock that off, you're gonna make me feel good about losing.
Can you imagine 3 people walking in, singing a bar, Alice's Restaurant, and walking out? They may think it's an organization.
You had 50.
And can you imagine 50 people a day? I said 50 people a day walking in, singing a bar, Alice's Restaurant, and walking out. And friends, they may think it's a movement. And that's what it is. The Alice's Restaurant anti-Massey-cree movement. And all you gotta do to join is to sing it the next time it comes around on the guitar.
They can't do that to a dozen congressmen. Or even just 12.
We're just waiting for it to come around as well.
I'll hang out and party with you all. You know I don't drink recreationally. I have medical margaritas. I even have a medical margarita card. What happens in 2028?
You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. Excepting Alice, you can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. So walk right in, it's around the back, just a half a mile from the railroad track. And you can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant.
I got 7 months left in Congress. All right, well, you've made a compelling argument. You spoke your piece, but I need a medical margarita right now. And we'll talk about it later. Thank you, and God bless.
Okay, and that's that. So I don't know what you thought about that, but I hope you enjoyed that little bit there. And if you get a chance, go by all means and listen to the actual version of Alice's Restaurant, Massey-cree by Arlo Guthrie. You can find it on any of your streaming services, or maybe if you dig through the attic, you might find a reel-to-reel from your dad, and you'll be able to listen to it that way. That would be great as well. But as we wrap up, folks, this is Memorial Day, and it is Memorial Day 2026, and I would be remiss if I did not pay homage to the men and women of our country who have served and given up their lives, the ultimate sacrifice. That's, of course, what Memorial Day is all about. It's Veterans Day that's when you can thank a veteran. Memorial Day is for the ones that we just don't get a chance to say thank you to them because they've moved on. And so this is a solemn day, and we're thankful for the many sacrifices of all of our American soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marine, who have given their lives over the course of our 250-year history. And we're very grateful that not every war, not every conflict that we have gotten into has turned out to be what we thought it was going to be. But every person who gave their life did so because they took an oath, and it wasn't that they wanted to die. They weren't looking for that opportunity. They had other things going on. They had other plans, and they wanted to be just like you and me, enjoying life in the greatest country in the world. And I still believe that for sure. But we're just a step or two away, always from losing it. And thanks to our men and women in uniform who unfortunately have given their lives, we were able to have a pretty darn good one. And so we'll be thankful and remember that today. So what I'm going to do this time, though, is, as you know, I don't think we should be fighting this war in Iran. And this Memorial Day, today, there are 13 Americans who are part of Memorial Day in a way that they didn't anticipate that they would be because of this unnecessary conflict that we've got going on with Iran. Plain and simple. There are 13 Americans who are now part of a Memorial Day program because we just decided that we were going to go ahead and start something up with Iran. And I'm going to name their names, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about them, and that's where we will end our show this week. And so for Memorial Day, I want to honor all of our men and women who have given their lives. I want to particularly mention these 13. Major John Alex Klinner, age 33, from Auburn, Alabama, United States Air Force, father of a 2-year-old and 7-month-old twins. Captain Ariana G. Savino, 31 years, Covington, Washington is where she's from, United States Air Force. Her passion for flying came from her father, who was a pilot for Alaska Airlines. Tech Sergeant Tyler H. Simmons, age 28, from Columbus, Ohio, part of the Ohio Air National Guard, an only child whose teachers described as well-mannered and disciplined. Tech Sergeant Ashley B. Pruitt, age 34, from Bardstown, Kentucky, United States Air Force, a devoted wife and mother of 2 young children. Captain Seth R. Koval, age 38, from Mooresville, Indiana, a part of the Ohio Air National Guard. He met his wife on a childhood church mission trip. They have one son. Captain Curtis J. Angst, age 30, from Wilmington, Ohio, part of the Ohio Air National Guard, the son of a flight attendant and private pilot who grew up playing with toy planes. Sergeant Declan Cody, age 20, from Des Moines, Iowa, United States Army Reserves, an Eagle Scout who loved the outdoors. Captain Cody Cork, age 35, from Lakeland, Florida, United States Army Reserves, a man with an infectious spirit and generous heart, defined by devotion, character, and service. Sergeant First Class Nicole Amore, age 39, from White Bear Lake, Minnesota, United States Army Reserves, a mother to a senior in high school. What a commencement they must have had. And also the mother of a fourth grader. Her husband says she was just days away from coming home. Sergeant First Class Noah Teachins, age 42, from Bellevue, Nebraska, United States Army Reserves, a double black belt in Taekwondo and Filipino martial arts, something he shared with his wife and only son. Major Jeffrey O'Brien, age 45, from Coggan, Iowa, United States Army Reserves. He coached his kids in track, supported their gymnastics, and he taught them to love music and theater. Chief Warrant Officer 3, Robert Marzon, age 54, from Spotsylvania, Pennsylvania, United States Army Reserves. And at the time of his death, he was just 2 months away from his 55th birthday and retirement from the military, which he joined in 1990. Sergeant Benjamin N. Pennington, age 26, Glendale, Kentucky, United States Army Reserves. Everyone who knew him knew he was destined to be an Army man, and there was no convincing him otherwise. Rest in peace to these 13 Americans who served their country and lost their lives in this most recent conflict with Iran. 13 on this 250th anniversary of the United States of America, born from 13 colonies. God bless them, God bless America, and may God bless you as you become the sunny side of someone else's life.
When the shadows fall and doubts begin to creep, remember together we're strong, never weak. Lift your neighbor up with kindness every day. Let your actions speak the words you want to say.
The Sunny Side of Life is a weekly production about our life on the family farmstead here in Iowa, the liberties we prize, and the pursuits which make us happy. None of this is possible, of course, without Christ in our lives. For the Lord God is our sun and our shield. He gives us grace and glory.
Be the sunny side of someone else's life. Share your light and joy through struggle and strife. Keep your heart open and your soul always bright. Together we will share this sunny side life. Be the sunny side of someone else's life. Share your light and joy through struggle and strife. Keep your heart open and your soul always bright. Together we will share this sunny side life.
May the Lord bless you and keep you, and may the sunny side of your life in Christ be made evident unto you each and every day, and give you peace.